I'm recording my teaching in part, well, for a variety of purposes. In part to see how I teach, and also for any future people that might want to see how I teach.
When do you record the class?
No, just video. If you guys are curious to see how you look on video, it'll be on YouTube.
Oh God!
Put it on YouTube. I don't care.
You should see us the day before.
But it's kind of fun to see yourself because you normally don't on video. But anyway, I'll give you the link tomorrow for the class. So again, tomorrow or every Friday, we meet at Club Alexa. So if you have an 8 o'clock class, like I said to the other guys, just come whenever you're done with your first class. And then if you don't have an 8 o'clock class, just meet at Alexa. And everyone does know where it is? For Friday classes, Alexa. And then, what's that?
8 o'clock?
No. If you have an 8 o'clock class, then after your 8 o'clock class. And so it's 9 to 11 is the Friday class, right? So and Alexa opens at 9, and so it's really nice. So we had the second years this past term, we met there on Fridays. And so we have the whole place to ourselves. It's just us, and we have they expect us, so they just have things kind of ready for us, and it's fun. And it's just it's quiet. Sometimes there's the background music, and when the weather's nice, we can go out to the backyard or whatever. So it's a good place. And then so that class we leave whenever we're kind of have accomplished what we want to accomplish. So somewhere between 10:30 and 11. And then Thursday class we'll meet here. And in this space, it's a little crowded, but we'll figure out how to maybe better use it too over time. So a few asked us, so the students got here early, what the heck is TOK going to be? What are you going to get out of it? Now, you might have heard a rumor before I give you an answer that I love TOK. Has anyone heard that rumor?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
That, and I do. I have taught maybe let's see, somewhere between 16 and 20 different kinds of classes over the years. So I've taught all kinds of literature, and I've taught ethics, and I've taught anthropology and history and psychology, many things. And my favorite class to teach, not even close, is TOK. And we'll figure maybe by the end of this period why I like it. But what do you think you might get out of it over a year? So that would be this term and the next term. Who's got a hint? What might, something that you maybe don't have a lot of it in you now, and you'll get more of it in you by then?
Critical thinking?
Oh, critical thinking. And what do you mean or know by critical thinking?
Like to question everything around you?
To question. Questions can be one of the key terms. I heard a click on my camera. Was it? I want to just check. Oh no, it's okay.
Questioning what we hear.
Questioning what you hear. Question what you hear. So questioning is going to be one. You got who's good at questioning already? Some of you are comfortable. Who does not like to question their teacher? Who is uncomfortable questioning their teacher? Any given teacher, without giving names. Are you uncomfortable or comfortable questioning your teacher?
Pretty comfortable.
Pretty comfortable? What's that? Depends on the teacher. So at least in this class, I want you to develop, I would like you to develop great passion and interest in questioning me and doubting me. So questioning and doubting, and also to become a skeptic. What does it mean to be a skeptic? I think we talked about this maybe in psychology.
To be critical towards everything.
And
Don't believe in everything.
don't believe in everything that you're told.
Do not take information as given as like a fact.
In this class, catch me, I don't think it will happen. I'm not going to tell you anything that's true, or that's certain, or that's a fact. So I'm not going to give you any answers, absolutely no answers. You're going to give me and us answers, and there's not going to be one answer. There's not going to be 7 billion answers, but there's probably going to be 50 or 100 or a few hundred good answers to the questions that we ask. So I will be posing lots of questions to you guys, And most of the time, today, of course, because it's the first day of class, I'm talking a fair amount because, we wouldn't know what to talk about. But after this class, actually beginning tomorrow, you guys are going to be talking more than I am. I'm going to be posing questions. Who's had a Socratic seminar?
What?
Socratic seminar? You've had a Socratic seminar. Oh, gee, I wonder why you guys have. And so Socratic seminar where the say that you're reading Romeo and Juliet. Have you guys read Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah.
And but if you did, anyway, so the story about from Shakespeare about possible love or lust between two young people. And say that you're about halfway through reading Romeo and Juliet, then I, as a literature teacher, may pose a question, tell you in advance, like the next day there'd be a question on the board. And the question would be, justify whether Romeo and Juliet are in love or in lust. And the way you're going to justify it is with each other. So then I would have that question up there, and I would sit back here, and I would be taking notes on what you guys say to each other. So you don't even look at me, I'm invisible. And then you call each other by name, and you say, love, lust, well why? Prove it, justify it. And maybe justify it with these things, ways of knowing, which we'll get to in a second. So we'll have lots of things like that. Some of the topics, hopefully in the next term, that you'll have a different TOK teacher that is more science and math. So Andrew and myself, Jen and more humanities. And it's nice for students to get both types of TOK teachers who have certain kinds of passions. So, but the subjects that I'll be focusing on with you guys, and we call it the TOK areas of knowledge, will be the arts, and will be ethics, and will be a little bit on religion as well. But because I don't have a lot of religious passions myself, I'll be bringing in a couple of other teachers who are either one passionately religious, one passionately doubtful or agnostic or atheist, and have discussions about that to see if we can discover, at least for ourselves, personal truths. So the question of truth in TOK is, I think you guys will find truths, but the truths will be your own. So there might be some other students in here who share common truths as you on a given question. I'll say about this one, do you exist? That question right there, who thinks they can confidently respond to that question? Let me pose it now. Do you exist? I hear a pregnant pause. There's uncertainty in the room. Volunteers? Anna. Thanks for volunteering.
I believe I do.
Can you justify it for me? And I'll get to this in a second too. Can you justify it using these ways of knowing? Not all of them. Which of those ways of knowing would you use to justify, to prove to me that you exist?
Emotion.
You have an emotional reaction to the question. So when I said, do you exist, you felt something?
Yeah.
What did you feel?
Uncertainty.
You felt what?
Uncertainty.
Uncertainty about what you do. Okay.
Then a bit of fear, not necessarily me, but.
Okay.
Then sense perception.
Okay, your five senses, which of your senses inform you that you likely exist, or
All
certainly?
of them.
If you, right now, would you guys, not too hard, would you mind pinching yourself? Do you feel sensation? Did you feel something? If you did not feel something, would that make you a little, I don't know, that make you a little uncertain?
It didn't mean that you're dreaming.
It could mean that you're dreaming, or would mean that you're dreaming. When you get quiet for a while, like say you're just have some private time, private space, do you sometimes speak out loud?
Yeah.
And then notice your voice. When you speak right now, do you definitely hear only yourself? Well, I guess unless you have more than one voice inside. Then you should be psychology and we'll talk about it. What is it?
I'm never actually certain that I hear myself because I've heard so many times that I sound really different. And there's this trick you can use where you put your hands like this, and this is the voice that you present to others. and that makes you feel kind of detached.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, it's the same thing when you're like recording your voice. It's just
And then you sound so different.
When you kind of smack your lips or you kind of like taste the taste of your mouth, is that something very personal? Because you right now probably don't know how other people are tasting their mouths. But we assume it's kind of similar, but we really have no idea, right? But we know for ourselves. And then when you see yourself in the mirror, does anyone spend a little time looking into the mirror in the mornings?
Yeah, especially girls.
Especially girls. And who do you see? Is that for confirmation that you exist? What about your memory or your experience of being yourself before? So when you were age 7, do you remember when you were age 7? Approximately.
No.
Try to look back and see yourself at age 7. Can you see yourself then? Age 7, yeah. Did you look like you, what do I say? Were you looking like you are now? Physically. Was it definitely you?
Yeah.
And you are definitely her or him? You are him. But in some ways, somewhat different. But when you look down in the mirror, that's probably further confirmation. So is it nice to know that you exist? Are you guys who's convinced, now, this discussion at least, that you exist? Everyone's convinced? Is anyone a little uncertain? Could it all be a dream? A little uncertain? Yeah. Because the certainty of these things about they're personal, aren't they? They're like, I touch myself, I feel something. What was the cogito ergo sum? Descartes?
I think therefore I am.
And what's he saying then? What's he saying that is the proof that he exists?
I think
This thinking thing. Okay, now there's we talk about this in psychology too. About do we feel first and then think, or do we think first and then feel? Can you guys think just for a second? Go. Let's think for about 10 seconds. And what does see? Think about something. What did you think about?
how high is that tree over there?
How high is that tree over there? Now, that's a good example, because that is a thinking process, definitely, more so than feeling. And there's something going on in you. Did anyone else think about that tree and how high it was?
No, it's behind me.
You guys can even see it. So it's very individual. So whether they exist or not, who knows? But you probably do exist at doing that unique thing of tree height calculation. Interesting, huh? Well, let me give you, you're going to get 2 handouts today. Oh, let me mention, there's about at least a half dozen students in here that have used ManageBack. Has anyone not used, like say, submitted assignments to ManageBack? Who has not done that? Almost, okay. Tomorrow, in tomorrow's class, I'll just show you, we'll have some computers there, I'll show you how to submit. So I put all of my assignments, like right now there's just the syllabus is there, there's also an assignment for tomorrow there. You could find, so if you look at, we're F block, right? If you look at F block, and again, we'll do this in class tomorrow to make sure you do it, or make sure you understand it. And for the first assignment, you can also just handwrite it as opposed to submit it there, because some of you just don't know about ManageBack. But it's a really simple system, very useful to use. So I'll put messages that I'll sometimes write to you, and I'll put it to your email as well, if there's some change in location or something like that. And then, like the assignment that I have, so I've written it down here. Normally the kind of details I wouldn't put on the board, because it'll be on ManageBack, but today it's going to be on the board. And there's a handout that'll go with this, so it'll make sense. So I'll get to that towards the end of the class. But anyway, so you'll submit work there, and then I'll post work and grades there as well. So one handout today. This is sort of an intro stuff to TK, what to expect. The printer was fading ink. What is it?
Dating life.
You know, I haven't, and someone else mentioned that
How
recently.
many times did you put your face on?
You did show it?
It's like my favorite movie. It's really good. And it's like basically okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'll definitely look at that.
This is an extra.
Yeah.
I'm not in your group of manager like in December.
Oh, no, so I'll need to add you.
Yeah.
So I'll add you as a student.
Oh, and I switched also between the blog for and blog cash.
Okay,
If I'm not on there.
so I might need to have the two of you. Okay, so below here, and I have this on the board as well, are the ways the TOK believes that you learn, that you understand, that you know matters that are important to you. I'll be presenting certain topics, they're called areas of knowledge, which are basically the subjects that you learn. But there's also a couple of other subjects like ethics and like religion that are included in areas of knowledge. And those are open for discussion as well. So these are the ways of knowing emotion. Again, the 5 senses that you have, language, of course that's going to be important in literature, how language is used, but also from sources like the media, how you can be manipulated to think certain ways by the way language. One of the, America has gone to a number of wars. I don't know if you've heard that rumor, that we go out there in the world and sometimes go to war. We're not really sure why, especially after the fact. Like, why did we go to Iraq? I can't really recall. But to Iraq, we were only there 8 years, so. To save that part of the world for democracy, isn't that it? But sometimes, especially in war or military, they use terms. One of the terms our American military likes to use is collateral damage. Collateral damage. So that's like you have, what are the planes, automatic planes that fly, and drones. And drones, they fire it at some location, like a car or something. And sometimes there's bad guys in there, and sometimes, well, there's not. And so then that's collateral damage. Well, our intentions were good, but it didn't work out. Anyway, so language is useful and important. The bottom 4 are new ways of knowing that TOK has added with your generation. So prior to you guys, this past year, there was the top 4. The bottom 4 were added. 2 controversial ones are faith and imagination. Not all people have spiritual or religious faith, but a number of people do. And so for some people, that's a way they know certain truths, certainly about ethics.
Does faith have to be religion?
Faith is, maybe if you don't have tangible evidence in things, you may have faith about it. Or again, it's going to be pretty close to intuition. You have a sense about it. But for a lot of people, I think they would tie spirituality or religious belief to belief. So not everyone's going to access that or use that. I would say all the others are probably accessible and useful to everyone. Though some of you who would claim to be, who likes art, thinks art, who practice art, do you think you might use imagination when you produce art?
Yeah, of course.
Is imagination difficult to define?
Yes.
Can you imagine your future? So right now, just for about 27 seconds, imagine the university of first choice, even if you're not really sure which one that is. Imagine walking through the gates, the front door, the entrance to this university. And some of the best ways that we can see is with our eyes closed. So if you can see with your eyes closed and imagine walking through the university, can you do that for the next 27 seconds? With closed eyes. Okay, Anna, where did you go?
I don't know, I couldn't imagine.
You couldn't imagine. That's interesting, and I think people's ability to imagine varies. People of an artistic inclination, I think, imagine more vividly. Who else went someplace? Yes?
I did, but well, I think because I got no idea how is it going to look from the outside or from the inside, so just like imagine something like if I'm planning to study somewhere like with Gothic architecture and entering like the gates with a big garden and then like stairs inside and like the big windows.
Well, how could you see all that? Because I know for sure you didn't leave. I was watching. My eyes were open.
No,
But how did you imagine that?
well, I just like imagine myself walking, but I usually don't think with my eyes closed.
Ah, so maybe that was difficult for some people. But I'm thinking you also used a V word. What V word did she use? She was visualizing. I think when you imagine, you often visualize.
Yeah.
And you can visualize the possibilities.
Yeah, and actually, all imagination is based on your memory. You cannot imagine something that, I mean, it's only geniuses can imagine something that they have never seen.
This is a good point.
You cannot dream, if you're born blind, you cannot dream anything.
Yes, this is a good point, because you have seen some Gothic architecture, right?
Yeah, because it's just a combination of things I haven't seen before.
And so you tweaked it a little bit, maybe some of the pictures and more desirable. That's a good point. And so you'll see how memory and experience is listed up here, and imagination. There are oftentimes going to be 2 or 3 of these linked together. Now, you artistic sorts, when you use imagination, what else do you use?
Feeling.
Feeling, various kinds of emotions. There's a huge range of emotions, and that's going to tie into what we do next. If you look at the bottom here, so anyway, I had this doubt, question, develop thoughtful skepticism. What's the difference between being a skeptic and being a cynic? Have you heard of cynicism, being a cynic, versus being a skeptic?
Cynic is judging without knowing, like you always judge. You don't wait for the explanation or anything, but being skeptic is just questioning, but you have some predispositions, but you don't judge immediately.
Yes, I like that. Yes.
I think maybe cynicism is more like you assume bad intentions, while skepticism is not necessarily.
There's kind of a negativity to it, right? And sort of an impossibility built in to know something. The skeptic, hopefully what we'll have you do is stay right now, because we'll be discussing ethics later in the term. So what is good and bad and right and wrong. I'll be asking you to develop your PMS. Robert, your PMS I'll be asking you to develop. Can you do that? Your personal moral system. Some people thought it was going to be easier for them than others. Well, no. But anyway, so your personal moral system. Say, let me just give you one quick example before I have you guys break into groups. Is, who knows how they feel about their parents? Do you guys know how you feel? Do some of you feel, I don't know, I'm going to put you on the spot. In TLK, I will put you on the spot at times, but you can put me on the spot too. Who has unconditional love for their parents? So without conditions.
Both parents.
Good point. Now on the question about that, you may have unconditional love for one parent and conditional love for the other. Or maybe you don't even know right now if your love is conditional, or if their love for you is conditional, or again, one parent versus the other. So as we discuss, say as you're working on your personal moral system, and if that's going to be one of the principles that you feel absolute about, then you would include that and you would describe it. I know that my parents' love for me is conditional or unconditional because, and you might have an example, or that my love for them is unconditional or conditional. But it's not easy to know these things. So it takes a variety of these things. Emotional reaction. When I think of my parents' love for me is conditional or unconditional, I feel, and then you say, from my father I feel this. From my mother I feel this. When there's the Skype phone calls, and I know that if I have done something poorly, or I have misbehaved, from one parent, they just say, you know I love you. And the other parent might say, you know you disappointed me, or